You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@Irish News.
The Bon Ray Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio. Today is Friday. We're talking about immigration and the mess of immigration and the EU empire. Absolutely scary stuff going on. First, a boy of 15 who went to Wesley College. They attempted to abduct him along with a young girl. 5 foreign men, 4 in their 20s, one in his 40s. Absolutely scary stuff. This is from mass immigration from these violent nations that Leo is forcing on us and bringing them in while we have 10,000 homeless. It's so absolutely, I'm so sick in the stomach at the moment of fear for this country and the future generation. Migration is not a human right. The destruction of our people and our safety is what the government should be doing. We have treacherous government and we need to wake up as Irish people, and we need to be waking up really fast. It is really scary. The Liberals and the leftist scum have made up this word Islamic phobia, which comes from the Muslim Brotherhood, to silence any debate or criticism about Islam. You've got to wake up, people. You can't be that dumb. This is ridiculous. It's so scary. Talking about this EU army again. It's just, for how many times were we told through the Lisbon that this was a fantasy, it'll never ever happen? How many times were we told that this would never ever happen? They want to be an empire. And we're just a small country that will lose everything, our culture, everything that our forefathers had died for is not just at risk, it's going, guys. Wake up, it is going. Time and time again, they told us that this wouldn't happen. There would be no army. It's happening. The whole empire of the EU is happening. During the Lisbon Treaty, they kept telling us it wouldn't. The German Chancellor has to come out and has said, a common European army. A common European army. They want this. Now, European, I hate the way the EU keeps robbing Europe. Not all of Europe is in the EU. It's not the same thing. The EU is an empire or like a company. And we have to start correcting ourselves every time they say the European. European is not the EU. The EU is not Europe. Europe is a continent. The EU is a company. It is a Nazism company. It is an ideology that trying to take, almost that's why they use Islam, because it robs everything about a country. The sovereignty, the independence, the neutrality, everything about keeping the people safe. Leo went on to say that we must fight against borders. They're our real enemy. He wants us dead, people. This is really scary times when the so-called Taoiseach says we have to fight against borders. Why doesn't he open the door and let everybody in? Why do we even bother having doors? It's to keep the people inside safe. It's not that even that you hate the people outside. It's to keep your family or your people inside safe. Otherwise, everybody would leave the doors open at night time. This is insane. Absolutely insane. And then you need to wake up. This is really, really dangerous. So they go on and keep robbing Europe as a continent and calling it the EU, even though loads of Europe is not in this bloody EU. So Guy, the EU, Guy Verstappen, says, I am very pleased that the boat Myrtle and Moron are fully behind an army. We have to take our own destiny into our own hands. Scary, scary words. Without a bullet, they have taken our land and everyone else's. And you're all asleep thinking they're doing you a favour. Absolutely. An EU empire will be like the Roman Empire. We need to get out of this. Look at the English. They couldn't even get out. They've been fighting to get out. It's back and forth, back and forth. Looks like the British government will have to fall apart before they actually get a decent Brexit, because Theresa May isn't giving it to them. They will be stuck in. This is scary, scary times. They have taken all our countries and there isn't a fight. Everything our forefathers died for was wasted. What was the point of becoming independent? What was even the point of the English going into 2 world wars? Germany has taken the bloody countries, all our countries, and we're all asleep. They want to become. Ever since the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, this has been slowly chipping away in each and every of our countries. The Maastricht Treaty was the destruction of Europe as individual countries. They want the feckin' empire and they are in charge of it. These bureaucrats in the Brussels, who nobody voted in, have taken our countries. Wake up and fight back. It is enough. They go on to talk about Western European faces a threat from Eastern European, and that they'll go and crack down on those questioning their convictions. Is this not Nazism? What have Eastern European countries done other than to stand up and say, we actually don't want immigrations, we want to keep our people safe, and we're going to control our own countries? They think that's a threat by putting their own people and protecting their own people first. This is Nazism. It's so scary and nobody's waking up to it. Wake up, people. Like, seriously, I feel like screaming when I read this. I feel sick in the stomach and screaming. The cheek of them to say that to the Eastern European countries, that they face a threat. Face a threat for saying that they won't join the UN, the migration crazy pack, that they will not take the EU so-called refugees who aren't even from war zone or aren't even real refugees, are all Muslim men to destroy their country and gang rape their women and children. They said no. And that's a threat because they don't want their women and children raped. Because our treacherous government, who's only half Irish, is destroying our country, and the Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil are right behind him. We need to stop this now and protect Irish children and Irish women and Irish people. Like the Eastern European countries, we should be looking to them, not this EU company that likes to call themselves Europe and suddenly has now decided Eastern European countries are dangerous. How long before they decide to send this bloody EU army in to control their thoughts on Islam, or control their thoughts about open borders, or African countries invading their countries? How long before they attack them? It's coming. This EU empire, and because of our government, we have nobody. We have to start fighting
back from this government. Stop paying your taxes. Throw out that TD. Throw out every single thing money-wise you give to that government, because it's going towards your death and the destruction of your culture, your people, everything to do with us as a nation. That is where your taxes is going. You'd be better off drinking it or throwing it in a drain, because giving it to that government is for your own destruction. Stop paying your taxes. Get on to your employee and say you will look after your own taxes, and let the government chase you for it. We need to stop all of it. Absolutely all of it. It's scary, scary times. The more I read the papers, the more I feel sick. Absolutely sick. This army is going to happen, and very soon. And the English haven't had very much success of getting out. There is two choices. There will be war with the British, that they will fight back. In the next few days, we will see how the English will react. Either Theresa May's government which it is collapsing. There's 4 high-up ministers who have left, but she will be forced to leave, and they will but the Home Secretary is a Muslim. How did the English allow a Home Secretary be a Muslim? Insane. Very, very dangerous. So the best that'll happen is Theresa May is gone, and hopefully Jacob or Boris gets put in and gives the British the Brexit that they asked for, to be able to close the borders, to protect their people, and start, as Italy, start sending them back. Start doing it now. They should be doing that now anyway, even in the EU. Italy's still in the EU, and he has put his foot down. He's saying no more immigration, no more of these so-called refugees, and he started sending them back. The British should be doing that. Instead, she's just talk. She hasn't done anything for the British. She's just done a lot of talking. Countries that are still in the EU are doing more. Austria has refused to sign this bullshit UN deal, along with Hungary, along with Czech Republic, along with Croatia, along with the US. Other countries who are not are actually doing more. Theresa May is, like Leo, a plant, and they need to get her out so the British can actually get a proper Brexit and get out, because what they're going to sign into will be harder to get out than the EU. What she's doing is she's double tracking and putting a glue on it. That treaty, the new treaty, is actually harder to get out than signing the Article 50, the way it's written. So she needs to be gone. There is no point. She's not giving them anything. She is as bad as Leo, if not worse. She's just clever. Leo is not as clever. You can see right through Leo. His detest for the Irish and their culture and the indigenous people of Ireland. Everything about Ireland he detests, and he can't hide it. It's so obvious. Where she's a little bit clever, she played along with the game. I didn't even see it. But it's so obvious. The deal she wants to give Britain is more glue than the EU. It'll be harder for them to get out. They will be tied in to this bullshit open border still, where they will be flooded, keeping Northern Ireland in the custom union, giving a ridiculous amount of money so they will be financially crippled like Ireland was. And remember how the EU has destroyed Ireland, Greece. The appalling way that Ireland, Greece and Spain were treated, and recently Italy. But the only difference is Italy doesn't have a wimp Willie running it. They have a fantastic leader who will no better man to tell them all to F off. We didn't have that, nor did Greece, nor did Spain. They all had the wimp willies. Oh, please, EU, we want to stay in your little club and pay you lots of money. He doesn't have that. He knows exactly what it is. He's got a brain in his head. Missing from everybody lately. Absolutely. If our forefathers, if we could dig them up now and ask them, take up Michael Collins and ask him, he would absolutely be fuming. They, all of them, what is wrong with you? Have they drugged you? Have they poisoned the water that you're all brain dead and you cannot see that your country has been taken without a bullet? They want an empire and they want an EU army and they want to threaten countries who don't agree with their ethos. This is worse than Nazism because you're all pleading to stay in it. Crazy situation. There is nothing but a war that can stop this now. This EU, and they keep stealing the name of Europe. Europe is a continent. They don't own Europe as a continent. It is individual countries that are very different. Very different culture, very different traditions, very different languages. It is completely different. They don't even have links to each other. The Latin countries do. The Eastern Europeans do. The English and Irish do. English, Irish, Scotland, Wales. They do. But the rest of them, we're not linked to Spain. We're not linked to those countries. Our biggest links is to England and to America. And the other ones have links to each other. But we don't have. It is not. It's a continent. Very different and very beautiful. Being destroyed by the EU and robbing the name of Europe. They don't own Europe. Brussels does not own Europe. Brussels does not own any of our country, but you've given it away. Time to fight back. And because of Brian Cowen had signed the treacherous treaty where he should have stood up to the banks and he should have stood up to the EU and said, no, the Irish have voted this. And they rigged it. They rigged the Lisbon Treaty. It is time, people. We need to fight back. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of listening to this. And we're all watching how Wicklow is being destroyed. Every county is being destroyed. Wicklow, the Garden of Ireland, the most beautiful county on this side of Ireland. Absolutely a beautiful county. Grand Hotel being taken by our government, given by our government, to invasion of North Africans and Muslim men. The children of Wicklow and women will not be able to walk near the centre now. This is so wrong. The indigenous people are in danger in their own country. There's 10,000 homeless, 4,000 homeless children. The indigenous Irish are left to die in the streets. And yes, they are dying. Last year, between September and December, there was 11 people who died on the streets. So they are dying. More than Michael D. Higgins' dogs get. They get less than that to live off the streets. He pays his dogs more. This is disgusting. Disgusting hate of their own people. And Leo, because he's not even Irish. And he is a rent boy for the EU. He was pimped out. Wake up, people. Enough is enough. We can't do this any longer. Take back the country and take back control. We don't have to pay the EU anything. We don't actually owe them anything. The money from the fisheries, our turf, our water, everything that they collapsed. We need an independent audit to go through the books. because they won't give you an audit, but we need an independent audit and write it off. And the 43% that the Irish were made pay on their banking, the EU banking crisis, not even anything to do with the Irish, because we were too small of a country. Our punt shouldn't have gone into such a currency. It didn't suit our country because we were such a small population. When we got swallowed up, then we were made paid 42% on a 0.1 population of Europe. The Irish, not just the Irish, then our children, our grandchildren will be paying this debt off. For what? We didn't know it. It belongs to this so-called EU banking crisis. It wasn't the Irish bankings. It was the Germans who lent it to it. But any more than if you lent money to whatever and you don't get it back. You can't keep claiming to break them down and get it back. That's your own fault. If you lost the money, you lost the money. But it wasn't even our fault. This so-called EU collapsed it, and it was on purpose because of the Lisbon Treaty. Because since the Maastricht Treaty, this is their goal, to take our countries under the stupid banner of the EU, which they like to rob Europe every now and again, and has other countries outside Europe confused. You have Trump thinking that it's a European project. It's like, no, it's not European. Europe is a continent. They have it so well that they have even us confused, thinking, is it Europe? It's not bloody Europe. Europe is a continent. And Trump goes on to say, because the moron in France says, oh, you know, the US is a threat. And Trump rightly says, First World War, Second World War was with Germany, wasn't with China. It wasn't with the US, and it wasn't with Russia. It was with Germany, and you wouldn't have a country. Short memories. And of course, Germany's delighted. Hitler bloody won. With their banks and our stupidity. Let's fight back now. It's enough. It's enough. Thank you for listening on another bit of excitement of a show of where I just, more than excited, angry and upset at what I believe the Irish to be was fighters and love of their culture and their country and their own people, to give it away. That I cannot stomach or believe. Thank you for listening on The Bon Ree Show on ITV.ie and Irish News Radio. If you want to talk about anything, bring up anything, write in or contact ITV.ie or Irish News Radio. Thank you very much for listening on The Bon Ree Show.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.